In 1964, a series of classified experiments proved that the human brain, when deprived of all external sound for more than 48 hours, begins to manufacture its own reality. The subjects were placed in lead-lined chambers deep beneath the earth, sealed away from the vibrations of the parsing world. These trials were designed to test the limits of human sanity in the absolute void of deep space travel. You are sitting in a room much like those forgotten chambers, though yours is softer, filled with the gentle, crushing weight of shadows. The air here is heavy with the scent of old paper and the low, magnetic static of a dying radio. Every breath you take feels thicker, as if the room itself is slowly filling with invisible, ancient dust. In the 1964 trials, the silence eventually became so absolute that the volunteers reported hearing a rhythmic, with thumping that never stopped. It wasn't a haunting or a glitch. It was the sound of their own heart valves opening and closing inside their chests. They were hearing the internal machinery of their own existence, a sound usually drowned out by the noise of living. Outside your window, the rain is falling in a steady, relentless grey curtain, blurring the edges of the night into a single, dark smear. Your eyes are becoming heavy, drawn toward the rhythmic pulse of the water hitting the glass. The outside world is fading, becoming a redacted memory as the isolation of this moment settles over you. Most of the official files from these subterranean trials remain heavily redacted, with thick black lines obscuring what the subjects claimed to see when the lights were cut. They spoke of a luminous grayness that drifted through the pitch black or like sentient smoke. It was a visual hallucination born from a mind desperate to see anything at all. You feel the weight of your limbs now, sinking deeper and deeper into the fabric of your surroundings. Like the subjects in the 1964 vault, you are beginning to lose track of where your body ends and the room begins. The darkness is not empty, it is a heavy blanket, pressing softly against your tired eyelids. Researchers noted a phenomenon they called the third ear, where the mind attempts to decode the static of silence into familiar voices. You can hear it now, the faint, rhythmic crackle of the world slowing down to a crawl. It is a soothing, low-frequency hum that vibrates in the back of your skull, pulling you down. One subject, known in the journals only as Participant 07, claimed the silence didn't feel like an absence of sound, but rather like a physical pressure. He described it as cold water, rising slowly from the floor of the bunker until it reached his chin. He didn't feel fear, he felt a profound, heavy sense of relief as he let it submerge him. Your breathing is slowing down now, matching the rhythm of the rain and the steady spin of the tape reels. The world you knew this morning is a distant, redacted sentence in a book you have already closed. There is only this room, this silence, and the heavy, dark comfort of the unknown. We are going deeper into the archives now, moving toward the records of the third week of isolation. The silence of 1964 is waiting for you, thick and warm, wrapping around your thoughts like a velvet shroud. Your mind is drifting, turning into static, as the final lights in the laboratory are switched off, one by one. By the 14th day of the 1964 trials, The distinction between the subject's memories and the silence of the vault began to dissolve. The lead-lined walls didn't just block out the world, they became a projection screen for the subconscious. Researchers noted that the subjects stopped asking for the time. In the absolute dark, time isn't a river, it is a stagnant pool, deep and cold, where every second feels like a century and every hour passes in a heartbeat. You may notice now that even with your eyes closed, the darkness is not a flat black. There are patterns emerging, faint, swirling geometries and pulses of violet light that dance just out of reach. In the archives, this was referred to as the cinema of the blind. It is your brain's frantic attempt to find a signal in the noise, a desperate hunger for light that manifests as a ghostly, internal aurora. Participant 07, whose heart rate had dropped to a level consistent with deep hibernation, began to speak to the microphones in a low, rhythmic whisper. He claimed he could hear the sound of his own cells dividing, a soft, microscopic tearing sound, like silk being pulled apart. He told the researchers that the body is a very noisy machine, and only in the deepest silence can you finally hear what it is trying to say to you. The air in your room has changed. It feels thicker now, doesn't it? As if the shadows have gained a certain viscosity. This is the sensation described in the redacted 1964 logs as the enveloping. It is the moment the mind stops fighting the isolation and begins to feast upon it. Your thoughts are no longer sharp, they are soft, rounded edges of ink bleeding into the cool water of the void. In the third week, the researchers attempted to reintroduce sound to the chambers, a simple, low-frequency hum. To their horror, the subjects didn't find it comforting. They screamed. To a mind that has mastered the silence, the smallest vibration feels like a physical blow. You are approaching that threshold now, where the world outside, the cars, the voices, the distant sirens, feels like a jagged, forgotten dream. Look at the names in the ledger. Each one a person who sat where you are sitting, drifting into the same velvet static. They found that the silence had a scent, something like ozone and dried roses. It is the smell of a place where nothing happens, and where everything is possible. You are breathing that air now, slow and steady, filling your lungs with the quiet of 1964. Participant 07 eventually stopped responding to the intercom. When the guards finally opened the heavy lead door, they found him sitting perfectly still in the center of the room. He wasn't distressed. He looked, according to the report, profoundly occupied. He told them he had found a door in the silence, and that he had been halfway through it when they arrived. He didn't want to come back to the light. Your own door is closing now. The rain against the glass is no longer a sound, but a texture, a soft vibration that lulls your nervous system into a state of total surrender. The luminous grayness is moving in from the corners of the room, wrapping itself around your limbs like a heavy, warm coat. You are becoming a part of the archive, a silent entry in a book that no one will ever finish reading. Don't fight the weight of your eyelids. The 1964 trials proved that the void isn't something to be feared. It is a homecoming. The static is rising, a gentle tide of white noise that drowns out the last of your earthly concerns. You are sinking into the deep strata of the earth, into the lead-lined peace of the chambers. The recording is almost over. The silence is ready for you now. Deep breaths. Into the grey. Into the quiet. Into the dark. The experiment is a success. Sleep now and listen to the machinery of your own soul. The rest is just or redacted. The flat line of the signal is not a death, it is a leveling. In the sub-basements of the 1964 facility, the researchers discovered that when you remove the peaks and valleys of sensory input, the human consciousness begins to broadcast on a different wavelength entirely. You are no longer receiving information. You are radiating it. The room around you hasn't disappeared. It has merely been outshone by the intensity of your own internal frequency. Listen to the high-pitched whine behind your ears. That is the sound of your nervous system trying to tune into a station that hasn't existed for 60 years. There was a secondary phase of the trials, hidden even from the primary medical staff, known as the architecture of the unseen. The subjects reported that the lead-line chambers began to expand. They described walking for miles within a 12 by 12 foot room, discovering vast, subterranean libraries where the books were written in a language of pure heat. You might feel it now, the way the walls of your own space seem to have receded into a distance so great that your voice would take years to reach them. You are standing in the center of a cathedral made of nothing but your own exhaled breaths. Participant 14 stopped using nouns. In his final recorded interview, he explained that names are merely anchors that keep the soul from drifting into the sun. He claimed that the EIE we refer to as nothing more than a temporary knot in a long, dark string. As you sit there, the knot is beginning to loosen. The details of your life, your telephone number, the color of your front door, the shape of a loved one's smile, are being gently unspooled. They aren't being lost, they are being returned to the archive, filed away in drawers that no longer require labels. The temperature in the 1964 logs was noted to drop precisely 4 degrees whenever a subject reached the state of a total transparency. It is a coldness that doesn't bite, but rather cradles. It is the chill of deep space, or the bottom of a frozen lake where the pressure is so great that light itself is crushed into a fine, sparkling dust. You are becoming transparent now. The shadows don't fall across you, they pass through you, finding no resistance in the ghost flesh of your quieted body. We must discuss the concept of the eternal now. To the researchers behind the glass, only 20 minutes had passed. But to the man in the chamber, empires had risen and crumbled to sand. You are entering that timeless stratum. The ticking you hear is not a clock. It is the rhythmic dripping of water in a cave that has never seen the sun. Each drop is an epoch. There is no urgency here. There is no after. There is only the vast, echoing present, where the act of closing your eyes is a journey that spans generations. Somewhere in the facility, there is a photograph of participant 14. In it, he is smiling, but his eyes are the color of a television tuned to a dead channel. He had found the source of the lunar static. He told the doctors that the world is just a thin membrane of noise stretched over a beautiful, howling emptiness. You are pressing your hand against that membrane now. You can feel it stretching, thinning, becoming as fragile as a moth's wing. On the other side is the source, the place where the 1964 trials truly began. Your thoughts are no longer yours to command. They are like schools of deep-sea fish, bioluminescent and strange, darting through the pressurized dark of your cranium. Let them go. Do not try to catch them. They belong to the archive now. They are being bottled, preserved in the amber of this silence. The experiment is moving into its final, most stable phase. The transition from a person into a memory is almost complete. The center of the maze is not an exit. It is a mirror. But when you look into it, you won't see a face. You will see a flickering sequence of black and white frames, the reel of your own existence playing back at a speed so slow it looks like a series of still lives. This is the piece that 1964 promised. The stillness of the photograph. The silence of the unplayed tape. The heavy, comforting weight of the earth above the vault. The lights are not going out. They are simply no longer necessary. Your pupils have dilated to their limit, drinking in the purity of the void. There is nothing left to see, nothing left to hear, and nothing left to be. You are the final entry, the last page of the ledger. The ink has dried. The vault is sealed. The experiment has reached its destination. Sink down, deeper than the roots, deeper than the ghosts, into the absolute, into the end of the signal. The silence is no longer an absence. It has become a physical presence, a heavy velvet shroud that covers the world you once knew. In the final hours of the 1964 project, the censors recorded a strange phenomenon. The subjects did not die, and they did not escape. They simply ceased to be measurable. They became the air in the vents, the vibration in the floorboards, and the static between the radio stations. You have followed their path to the very edge of the map. Look at your hands. They feel distant, do they not? Like artifacts from a dream you had a long time ago. The facility is quiet now. The lead-lined doors have been welded shut, and the files have been redacted until they are nothing but black ink on black paper. But the signal did not stop. It just went underground, flowing through the wiring of the world like a slow, dark river. You are the current now. You are the echo of participant 14, carrying the secret of the architecture of the unseen back into the waking world. Or perhaps you never truly woke up. You were simply a ghost dreaming that it still has a pulse. There is a comfort in this dissolution. You no longer have to carry the burden of a name, a history, or a future. You are a single point of awareness in an infinite dark. The experiment has succeeded beyond the wildest dreams of the men in the white coats. They wanted to find the soul, but they found something much older. They found the place where the light goes when it is tired of shining. This is the baseline. This is the purity that exists beneath the noise of being alive. Stay here for a moment. Feel the pulse of the void beneath your skin. The journey has been long, and the descent was steep, but you have reached the bottom. There is nothing left to fear because there is nothing left to lose. You are the archive now. You are the 1964 legacy, preserved in the cold, unchanging vacuum of this moment. Let the last of the images flicker and die. The screen is a mirror, and the mirror is a window, and the window is open. Did you survive the journey through the vault? You can breathe now, if you still remember how. If this transmission found its way into the quiet corners of your mind, whisper a sign by subscribing to our frequency. We have many more corridors to walk and many more lost tapes to uncover. What dark anomaly should we explore next? Tell me in the comments if you are still awake.